Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Andrew Murnane podcast. Today we are going to be talking about what I do when I feel like shit, whether it's waking up and feeling like shit for whatever reason, or feeling shitty throughout the day, how I deal with it and help myself feel a little bit better. So I hope you enjoy. If you have been enjoying the podcast, make sure to do whatever you do with podcasts. Follow, like it if possible. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like if possible. Anything you can do to help share the podcast, get it in front of more people would be very helpful. I think writing reviews is possible on podcast platforms, maybe, and commenting on YouTube. Comment some stuff you want me to talk about on here. I'm very much open to recommendations. Uh, so, yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, what do I do when I feel like shit? So, this could be, waking up in the morning after going out with friends and being hungover, or after eating a bunch of shitty food the day before, or having a presentation later in the day that I'm a little bit nervous about, or just feeling anxious and not really knowing why, which happens sometimes too. So, anyway, this could, be when I'm waking up or at another point in the day. It's just any time that I'm not feeling great. And the first thing I do every single time is I accept that feeling fully. I accept the fact that I'm feeling that way. I don't resist it. I don't wish that I was feeling better. I don't think, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. If it's for, I'm a little bit nervous for a presentation. I don't think, oh, I shouldn't be nervous. There's no reason to be nervous. It's only 20 people that I'm presenting to, whatever. Like, this is dumb that I'm feeling this way. Because the thing about resisting feelings and the thing about feelings is that they're already happening. They are what's happening in that moment. So, whatever you're feeling in whatever moment, the only options are either accepting it or resisting it. And by accepting it, even if it is a negative feeling, negative experience, you are able to turn it into a positive experience because the act of acceptance is always a positive experience. This is something that I learned about in the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And it is that the acceptance of a negative experience turns it into a positive experience. But if you resist that negative experience, you're only further perpetuating that feeling. Another quote I really like in relation to this is, what you resist persists. So the longer you fight a feeling, the longer it's going to stick around. So in this example, if you're giving a presentation and you're feeling nervous for it, the longer you fight that feeling of nervousness, the longer you resist it, the longer you wish that you weren't feeling nervous, the longer you're going to continue feeling nervous. But because it is a feeling, like all feelings, they are fleeting. The only way that they stick around is by resisting it and keeping it in your mind and thinking about the feeling. Feelings are fleeting. So by accepting the feeling, you actually allow it to pass through you and eventually go away. And the other funny thing about feelings like nervousness is it's actually the same feeling as the feeling of excitement. The only difference is the thoughts that you have surrounding that feeling, the context of the thoughts of that feeling. So, same goes for if I wake up and just feel, anxious and I'm not sure why. That acceptance, that initial acceptance of the feeling is so important because it allows that feeling to pass through you more quickly as opposed to resisting the feeling, wishing that you felt better, because that is only perpetuating that negative experience. Because I feel like I'm getting okay. So, like, waking up and feeling anxious or just like not feeling good, if you wish that you weren't feeling that way, you are resisting the fact that you are feeling that way. And however you're feeling in the moment is what's happening in that moment. So by accepting it, basically, you allow that feeling to pass through you because it is fleeting. And by accepting it, because acceptance is always a positive experience, you turn that negative experience into a positive experience and allow for more positive experiences because you have already accepted that feeling. So, first thing I always do is accept the feeling fully. Next thing I do is I meditate. So I observe, say, I'm feeling anxious or my mind's just racing. I have a bunch of thoughts going through my head, just not feeling very good. They're mostly negative thoughts. I meditate and I observe those thoughts. I realize that those thoughts are not me. That voice in my head is not my voice. I am simply the one that can hear them. I'm simply the observer of my mind. I'm the observer of my thoughts. I'm the one who can feel my emotions, but I'm never my emotions. I am simply the observer. So, understanding that helps me to not take them as seriously because I know that they are not who I am. I was actually just listening to an Alan Watts speech this morning, yesterday. I actually listened to it a few times yesterday, a little bit, and today. And he talked about how just like the realization that you are not a part of the universe, that you are the universe. And he brought up the act of thinking and how if you sit and stop talking for a second and just sit and listen to the outside noises. Maybe you're sitting outside and you hear birds chirping, you hear cars passing by, you hear someone else having a conversation. Those noises that you hear are no different than the noises that you hear inside of your head. The internal sounds, that voice in your head, the internal dialogue, is no different than the sounds that you hear outside of your head. So realizing that, you further can understand that you are not your thoughts, you are not your mind, you are simply the observer of it, just like you're the observer of all of the noises happening outside of you. You are simply the observer of those thoughts happening inside of you. So you then don't have to take them as seriously once you realize that they aren't who you are, and you can just observe them and direct your attention and give attention to what the thoughts that you want to give attention to. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done, but I think simply the act of realizing that those noises inside of your head and outside of your head are no different, that they are the same thing, they are just things happening, helps me at least not take them as seriously. So, second thing I do is I meditate and observe the thoughts going through my mind. And then the third thing I do is think of a bunch of things that I'm grateful for. I just posted a podcast episode all about gratitude. I talk about it for like 15 minutes, just ramble on about things that help me, why I think gratitude is so important. So I'm not going to get into too much detail in this episode, but by thinking about a bunch of things that I'm grateful for, I remember all the good in my life. It's so easy for us to take things for granted and forget everything good happening in our life, all of the positives, and just strictly focus on the negatives. But the more often we're able to focus our attention on the positives, the things we enjoy about our life, the good things that are happening, the more often we can remember, the better we will begin to feel. And I was just thinking about this a little bit more, and I was thinking about that feeling, like feeling better when you think of things that you're grateful for. And it's even like very, very basic things like having two arms and two legs, or having, five senses, or maybe you don't have five senses, maybe you have four. Like just being grateful for whatever senses you do have, the ability to see, the ability to hear. Like, these are absolutely incredible things that we take for granted so often and don't remember, how different our lives would be if we didn't have any of those things. Even, if you lost a finger, how different your life would be. Like, there's so many things that would change your life drastically that you just take for granted. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, when you get something new, like how good it feels. You buy yourself something new, you get a nice gift. It's a positive thing that makes you feel good, and it's typically temporary. It doesn't last forever, but it's a fleeting feeling, but it does feel good. And I think that gratitude is similar in this way, because we so often forget all of the good things that we already have. So by remembering them, it's almost like we're getting them again, and like we're getting something new, like we're getting a gift or something. Like, remembering how amazing it is that you have two arms, or maybe you only have one arm. How amazing it is that you have one arm, and you at least have one arm. Like, it could always be worse, and there's so many things that would so drastically change our lives that we so often forget. But by remembering it, I think it will bring about sort of that feeling of, getting a gift or getting something new, because we have to actively remember it, and it just brings about a similar feeling like that. So yeah, and again, just keeping those things very basic. It doesn't have to be something extravagant that you're grateful for. It can be very basic things, because those are the things that are, day to day most important. We just don't remember them enough. And last thing I do, say for example, I'm not feeling great when I wake up in the morning, I accept. So just to go through what I've done so far, summarize it real quick, accept fully that I'm feeling that way, allow that feeling to pass through me and not resist it, but simply allow it to be, understand that that is the way that I'm feeling right now, and that's okay. The other part about that is that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling nervous, it's not bad to feel that way. By thinking that it's, and I meant to cover this initially, but anyway, covering it now. By thinking that it's bad to feel nervous, then you'll start getting nervous about feeling nervous. Or if you think it's bad to feel anxious, like it's an objectively bad thing, then you'll start feeling anxious about getting anxious. And then you'll start feeling anxious about getting anxious about feeling anxious, or worried about feeling worried. And it's this endless cycle that can literally go on forever. And Alan Watts talks about this vicious cycle quite a bit, but by understanding that it's not bad to feel anxious or nervous or worried, it's simply a feeling. It's very normal to feel that way, especially in certain circumstances. Like, it's super normal to feel nervous before giving a presentation, or speaking in front of a crowd, or going on a podcast. It's very normal to feel those feelings, but it's okay to feel those feelings. It's not a bad thing to feel that way. Just because, you're nervous about giving a speech doesn't mean you can't give an awesome speech. You just feel a little bit nervous, and that's okay. It doesn't mean it has to stop you from doing whatever it is that you're nervous about to the best of your ability. It's okay to feel nervous. It's simply a feeling. So, first thing I always do, fully accept whatever I'm feeling. Next thing I do is I meditate. I observe those thoughts, realizing that I am not those thoughts. I'm not my mind. I'm simply the one that can hear them, simply the one that can hear those thoughts, just like I'm the one who can hear any noises that I ever feel: the flow of a river, waves crashing in the ocean, rain hitting the ground, birds chirping, other people talking. Those noises and the noises that you hear internally, your thoughts, are no different. You're simply the observer of all of them, simply the one who can hear them. And finally, I think of a bunch of the things that I'm grateful for, because everyone has probably hundreds of things to be grateful for at any given moment. And the more often you can remember those things, the simply put, the better you will feel. And then the last things I do are just things that I enjoy. I continue going about my day as I normally would, even though I still might not be feeling great inside. So for me, that's doing things like going on a walk, maybe walking my dog, working out. I work out, 4 to 5 days a week, typically first thing in the morning. So I'll go work out. I'll read a book or listen to an audiobook or listen to a YouTube video or a podcast. I just go about my day normally, and eventually that feeling that I feel inside after doing all of these things passes through me, and I feel better is pretty much it. Um, so anyway, that is the process I go through. That is what I do when I feel like shit. It could be for a number of reasons, but that is basically the process I go through whenever I am not feeling great. And that is everything I wanted to cover for this episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please toss it a like, toss me a follow. If you're on YouTube and haven't tapped that subscribe button, just do it real quick. It takes you like half a second. Toss a like. Um, and yeah, let me know. DM me on Instagram, comment down below, whatever you want me to cover in future episodes. I'm enjoying doing this podcast so far. I hope you all are enjoying it as well. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Talk to you later. Peace.